Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the workshop on Android development. As you all know, this is a part of the GDG on Campus Presents Solution Challenge powered by Hack2Skill. I'm Uzma, and I'll be your host for today. Before we begin, I'd just like to request you all to please keep your mics on mute during this session, and we'll be having a Q&A round at the end of the session where we'll take on your questions along with the questions that we are getting on YouTube. Just to talk a little bit about the solution challenge as a whole, it is organized by the GDG on campus in collaboration with Hack2Skill for student developers like you from various colleges and universities across the country. It's an incredible opportunity for student developers to tackle real-world issues like education, healthcare, sustainability, and so much more. All of this using Google Developer Technologies. Participants can also gain a lot of, they can not just gain skills, but they can also gain some exposure and make a really big impact on the society, a positive impact on the society. Here is the timeline for the hackathon. You are already aware that we are in the registration phase of the hackathon, and this will go on till 6th of March. Once the registration, during the registration process, we are also having these workshops. This one is also a part of it. So these are basically for you to upskill and make sure that you shine bright in the solution challenge. After this, in March, we have the upcoming bootcamps. And I know there's a lot of curiosity. I'll get to it. After this, you have until March 28th to submit your projects, and we'll evaluate your projects and announce the top 100 on 21st April. This will be followed by personalized mentorship sessions, and then you'll have to submit your final prototype by 25th May. After evaluating those, again, we'll announce the top 10, and those teams will be invited to the grand finale in the second week of July. So that's it about the timeline. All of you must have been receiving emails about the, Claim Your Developer badge and everything. So this is a QR code that you can scan and quickly get your developer badge. So, sorry. So you can get this badge, you can claim this badge, and you can post it on social media, brag about it, whatever you want to do. But it's a really good reflection on the kind of efforts that you put in. So quickly just scan this, or if you are on your phone, then you can just take a screenshot. I'll just wait for 10 more seconds so you can just scan this or take a screenshot. You will also continue receiving emails about this. If you haven't claimed your badge yet, we will send you some reminders so you can do it then. All right, moving on. The offline bootcamps. I hope by this point you know that these bootcamps are now open to all. You do not have to submit an idea. You do not have to submit anything to be able to attend the bootcamps. You simply have to be a registered participant of the Solution Challenge. And this is happening across the country in several cities. The final list and the list of cities, along with the dates and the RSVP form for you to attend the bootcamp in whichever city is closest to you. We will circulate all these details in the next couple of days. So just keep an eye on your inbox because all of these details are coming really, really soon. Now, before we move further, I just also want to take a look at this resources section where you will find some more resources that we have compiled for you. These include the hackathon toolkit, which is the social toolkit that we have been circulating amongst you. This is for promotions of the, encouraging people to join under your chapter, encouraging registrations under your chapter. So this is a social toolkit where you'll find all the communications that you need. After this is the content palette, which is like a compilation of a lot of useful resources for you, where you can learn about different technologies, where you can upskill yourself, do some self study and all of that. Then we have the process to redeem cloud credits, because we understand that you're students and you might not know all the nitty gritties of the process. So we have a document outlining every step of the process. Now, lastly, we have the domain claiming process. We had been receiving some queries about it, and a lot of you are interested in getting your own domain. So we have a form also for this. If you click on the domain claiming process link, you will find a whole document. Along with that, in that particular document, you will also find the link. You just have to fill that form, and we will get back to you. Now, if somebody on YouTube is watching and they haven't registered yet and they want some motivation to figure out why they should participate, then this is it. This is why you should participate. Um, there's a cash pool prize of 2 lakhs, which will be the winner. Like, there's a cash prize of 2 lakhs for the winner, followed by 1.5 lakh for the first runner-up and 1.25 lakh for the second runner-up. There will also be 2 special category awards who will win 75,000 rupees each. Apart from these cash prizes, we have the top 100 teams who will also get the certificates of recognition and achievement, and the top teams will also get a chance to attend the Google Career Fair. There's really quite a lot to take from it, and I encourage you to give it your best shot. Now, moving on to the main workshop today, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Ankit Kumar, a software developer at AISV Technologies. He has taken up the time to be here and share his knowledge on Android development with us. So thank you, Ankit. Over to you.
Thanks, Uzma. Hi, everyone. So let me just introduce myself first. Uh, I am, as you saw, I am a software developer at AISB Technologies, and I've been working on Android development for past 7 years. And yeah, I've built, I think, somewhere around 10 to 15 apps on Android, natively on Android. And yeah, I think that is my introduction, and let's quickly start with the Android development uh, part. Let me just share my screen. So, can you guys see my screen? Okay. So let's first start with what is Android and a basic introduction to Android development. So Android is a mobile operating system, as we all know, and it has been developed by Google. It powers millions of smartphones, tablets, and various other smartwatches, smart TVs, and various other things. Uh, Possibly every gadget that you see right now, apart from Apple devices, obviously, are powered by Android only. And it is also open source, which helps us as developers to customize and innovate their libraries, use their libraries in a uh, more deeper way. And so obviously Google Play, we all know that Google Play Store hosts millions of Android apps, and which are across our needs. So there are some media apps, there are some connectivity apps. So whatever kind of thing that you can hear of, or that what you can think of, there's an app for that right now. And so Android applications are primarily built on Android Studio, which is the engine that we use to build our code, and it is used in either of these languages, Java or Kotlin. So why there are two languages? So previously, at the start of everything, we used to use Java only to build Android apps. But after some time, Google came up with Kotlin, which was a better version of Java. You can say it was a better version of Java for developing Android, and it was catering more focused on developing Android apps. So it was making it easier as well. So it was taking care of some things that were not being taken care of in while using Java. For example, null safety is a very big issue in Java. If you're not a really experienced developer in Java, you will get stuck on what is throwing null pointer exception, and you'll be a lot into debugging and stuff, and you won't be able to find the root cause, which was basically removed by using null safety in Kotlin. And there are many various other advantages that we have in Kotlin. So the best advantage that I can think of right now for us as developers is we have to write a lot less lines of codes, which is a big relief for us. So let's see what we are going to learn in this uh, presentation. So first of all, we're going to understand what is the Android architecture, how everything is built from inside, what is going on inside your phone that you see. Then we are going to learn how to set up a development environment, how to install Android Studio, how to set up it, how to install SDKs, how to uh, create AVDs for Android debugging and testing. Then we are going to try and build a very simple app. We're going to create a very simple app, and uh, so I have one code written for you, because there is obviously not much time to write everything right now, but I have one created for you. But I'm going to show you how to create a new app and how everything works inside Android Studio. Then we're going to learn about what is activity and fragments inside an Android application. Then we're going to learn on intents and some various other uh, major topics of Android, which is uh, if you're going to create any kind of application in Android, you're going to use these things, and these are obviously for sure going to help you in creating your Android apps. So let's move to what is the architecture of Android. So Android is basically built on Linux kernel. So Linux is another operating system, which is a much more friendly operating system for developers, but it is not a friendly operating system for users. So real life users would face a lot of difficulties in actually doing things on Linux, because its UI is not is very basic, and everything that you need to do is on kernels. So basically, on terminals. So what Android does is it creates a Linux kernel on the lowest level of the OS, and then what we can say is beautifies it with the UI layer that you see now, and which is more user friendly, and which is more helpful for us to navigate between apps and do our day-to-day activities. So what what all is there in that modification or beautification is a hardware abstraction layer. We normally call it HAL. What HAL does is it provides you a link between whatever the apps that are being created and the audio or Bluetooth or camera or all the other hardware that you can see inside it. It also does provide you screen rendering stuff as well. So after that comes Android runtime. So what it does, it compiles your code, or it compiles all your apps. There are some apps, for example, the launcher that you see in your Android phone is also an app. So that app, executes all those kind of apps and all the apps that you download from Play Store as well in runtime. And sometimes it does ahead of time compilation as well, so that it is prepared to show you what you are going to need in next couple of minutes. So after that comes the application framework, which which is basically the part we develop as Android developers. So what we take care of in there is the data management. So how the activities or the various. So I'm referring to activity here as a screen, but a screen that you see on your Android phone, and when you switch to another screen, then there is that is another activity. So those how those things are managed in between. There is a life cycle of how uh, a particular activity is created and how it is destroyed in the backend. So that is what application framework means. Then there is the application layer, which contains all the system applications and user installed applications. So this is the Android architecture, basic Android architecture. Now we are going to setting up the development environment. So you can quickly anyone can go to developers.android.com. I will, or you can just type download Android Studio. So I'm using, you'll get this developers.android.com uh, link on top. You can click here and you can download the latest version of Android Studio from here. I have that installed, so I'm not going to do that. But when you download this, then it will ask you to install it as all other softwares require installation. You after installation, it when it opens, it will already create a new application for you, and it is going to look something like this. So this is basically an Android Studio, uh, and what uh, what we can do here is I can make you go through everything that is going on here. So this is the application name, as you can see, the application name that we are uh, going to develop. Then this is the version control. This is obviously, if you have heard of Git or Bitbucket. So what Git or Bitbucket does is it provides your platform for sharing code between your colleagues. So what you can do here is you can obviously change your branches. You can manage your branches from here. So this is where this shows you what are the running devices that are connected to your uh, PC. So here it is showing Pixel 8 Pro API Vanilla Ice Cream. I will show you what this is. Vanilla Ice Cream is obviously the Android version, and this is the Android simulator. So I'm going to show you what Android simulator means. You can obviously use another live device as well. So your own phone as well can be used for testing as well. You can just code something and you can run it on your own phone as well. So what are the steps for that? You have to enable developers option for that, and you have to connect your device using USB port. And let's just then move to this is the command for running. So this is the button for running an app. This is for stopping the app. This is for some basic uh, tools that we can use for managing the apps. They are present here. Then this is the application that you're going to run. So what happens is, at the start of everything, before everything runs, so first thing that is run is Android manifest. So it it then shows you. So if you see here, there's an intent filter and there's an action.min intent filter added here. So this shows what is the activity that is going to be run at first. So this is how the compiler enters into the code. But let's not get into that. Let's talk a little bit more about device manager here. So what you can do here is you can create your, if you do not have Android phones, or if you don't want to use it, if you have any trouble in using your own Android phone. So what you can do is you can create a simulator version for your Android phone here. And what you can do is I'm going to try and show you how to create one. So let's say you create here, click here, add. a new device, create virtual device. You can select what is the screen size. So Pixel Fold or Pixel 8 doesn't mean anything here. It doesn't mean that it will show you the exact version of that Pixel phone here. It is trying to simulate as much as it can. But the main thing that you need to see here is the size of the phone, the resolution of that phone, and you can create multiple simulators according to your needs. So basically, this is 1840 cross 2208 resolution phone. So you can choose any other phone. So why such screen sizes are required? Because we have different kind of phones in real life as well, right? So what it helps you is, if you create a app, let's say you create a app and you want to see how your UI or how your screens look in different kinds of phones. So that is where these different sizes will help you in. So you can choose one. Let's say I choose Pixel XL, and you can obviously choose tablet as well. You can choose Wear OS as well. Wear OS would be your watches that you see for Android, desktop, TV, and other things as well. Let's choose phone and Pixel XL uh, as our phone, 5.5 inches, and we click on next. It will ask you version you want which version of Android you want to install it with. So you so what we can do is we can choose any version that is currently live, or so there are some kind of versions, some previous versions that are not being supported right now for with Google. Why that happens is it has become so old that Google asks us not to build uh, the apps based on those Android versions. So let's say I have Tiramisu downloaded here, and if you don't have these downloaded, you can use it for you can click here and it will quickly download your Android version and install it in your in your simulator. So if I click on next here, it will ask me what you want to name your uh, virtual device. And if you want to change anything, just a final checkup. If you want to change anything here, you want it to startup orientation should be in landscape mode or portrait mode. You can choose. You can choose what kind of graphics acceleration you need and stuff, and you can just finish it here. And you can see I had one Pixel 8 Pro uh, already created simulator here, but here when we finish creating, one more Pixel XL has been added here with Tiramisu as its OS. So what you can do is you can run it from here, but I have one Pixel 8 Pro already running. So I'm going to show you that this actually looks exactly like your Android phone. So you can see, you can change here. It has internet capabilities, Bluetooth and everything for your testing purposes. You can a install an app from Play Store as well here, or you can just develop your app and you can click on run button for running your application in this in Android simulator. Okay, so this was the basic overview of there is a logcat tool here. So these are also pretty much very important. So this button helps you build your code. So it shows some logs if while building your Android application, if it faces some issue, then it would show you here. While running your application, if there is some issue, then it will be shown here. It is kind of a terminal. Then what is more important? This is the logcat uh, terminal for Android Studio. So you can choose on what device you want to check your logs on, and you can add filters here. So if I click on this, it is saying package mine. So mine directly means the application that is running in front of uh, at the front. You can choose any other package as well. Then you can simply write if you want to look for something. If you have console, if you have logged something and you want to look for something, then you can directly write it here as well. So this is the basic overview of logcat. This is the term.
महाजन में गया हूँ वहाँ पे इससे बोलिंग है थिएटर है
Okay, this is again version control. All right, so let's quickly switch to the next part. So building your first Android app. So now we are going to delve deep into the code part of an Android application. So I'm going to. So this is how you create a new app. You create on file. Click on new. Then you click on new project. Once you click on new project, you can choose the kind of activity that you want to select. So I'm choosing an empty activity. You can also, so Wear OS means watch OS. So what you can do is you can create apps for watch OS as well. That is completely different from the Android apps that you build for phones. So you can use this as well. So let's say we are using phone and tablet, and I click on empty activity. I choose next. So it will ask me what is the name of the application that you want to keep. So let's say we keep Android Workshop. So this is the package name. You can change this package name as well. So this is unique for every application. If you would choose a package name that is already present, it would in Android directly it would show you error. Save location, the minimum SDK that you want to run. So this is what this means is if you use a app, if you use a phone which has Android version below 7, then it won't be able to run your app. And this is just, there are two ways of how you can create, you can use to build your apps. So one is Gradle and one is Groovy. So this is that, and then we can click on finish, and it will take some time, but it will create a new app for you. It will import all the files that you need, and it will create one app for you. So we're going to go through what everything means here. So okay, so what we can do is we can choose between project and Android here. So here you can see if when the code is compiled completely, it automatically switches itself to Android, and it just shows you the relevant files that you are going to need for development. But if you want to see how the project structure looks for exactly looks like, you can choose project here. So these are the external libraries that are used here. Then your application looks like this. It has a .gradle folder, .idea folder, .kotlin folder. Then so the important part of this is this app folder where all the code is present. You go to src, and then you go to main and Java. Here is the Java or Kotlin code. We have this particular project is built on Kotlin. So uh, these are the Kotlin files. So how you can differ it from Java and Kotlin? So a Kotlin file would have .kt at the end of it, and a Java file would have .java at the end of it. So you can mix as well. So some places, obviously it is not recommended to mix these things. So basically use Java and Kotlin, both of your files in one project, but you can do if need arises, but it is not recommended, obviously. So this is how an application is. And so these are the Java files, Java or Kotlin files, and this is and under res folder you have all the UI components that you're going to need. So this is drawable folder. driver folder of basically contains all the images or hard-coded images or some components that you're going to use in your app regularly. Layout folder contains the main layout, basic layout of all the screens that you are going to create. So let's say if I click on activity main, so this is how my uh, main screen is going to look like. So item 0 is basically so this is basically a list showing here. So that is why it is saying item 0, item 1, item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And how that item is going to look, you can see it here. So okay, so everything is in white. I'm going to show it later when we are creating the apps. Okay, let's say next. Okay, so let's talk about activity and fragments. So a basic Android app is made on completely on activities and fragments. So what are activities? Every screen that you see on any of your apps is an activity. It's called an activity. What is fragment? Fragment is a part of activity. So for example, in some apps like Paytm or PhonePe, you must have seen that there is a bottom navigation at the bottom of the screen or of the home screen, and you click on various uh, buttons that are present here. I think 4 or 5 buttons are present, and you click on every button, and just the middle part of the view changes, and the header is the same, the bottom part is the same, just the middle part of the UI changes. So that is what a fragment is. So it's just a part of an activity. So in cases of bottom navigation or in cases of side navigations, you must have seen a hamburger menu, 3 lines present, and if you click on that, the main screen switches the UI. So that is what is meant by fragment. So how Android operates is every activity or fragment that has been created has a life cycle. What life cycle means here is it runs through a certain number of functions, and while its normal operation. So but first of all, when the activity starts, it calls the onCreate function. So it it just initiates your activity, creates your activity, and just it right now the at the time of creation you won't be able to see it on your screen. Where that happens after on resume gets called. So after that, the user can interact with the application. So after on create, on start is called. This is when the activity actually becomes visible. So it happens it's not like it takes 1 second for running on create, it takes 1 second for running on start, it takes 1 second for running on resume. It happens in microseconds. Or and what happens is after on create function, on start is called. So activity is created and started. Now it is visible, all the UI is laid out, and then on resume is called, after which the user can basically interact with the app. And after that, on pause is called. So in meanwhile, obviously the activity is running in between. So let's say if you are on home screen of your activity, let's say this is the home screen, and you click some button on this home screen and you change the screen. Let's say I have changed the screen now. So what happens is when you switch from activity A to activity B, what happens is at that time, if the activity is still running, then that doesn't make any sense, right? So what Android does, it pauses the activity for the meanwhile, for the time being, when we switch from activity A to activity B. What it does is it, after pausing the activity A, it creates the activity B, starts the activity B, and resumes the activity B. When you get back from activity B to activity A once again, then it would just on pause. When you can see here the activity, when comes to foreground, it would go to on resume again, and it will start running the activity. So why it does is this way, so that it takes less time when you get back to the activity to render the activity. It doesn't uses much more energy and much more time for you to show the activity that is previously opened. And after you click on back button on activity A, let's say I click back button on activity, this activity, then what will it call? It will call on pause again, and then it will call on stop, and then it will call on destroy. So what happens in on pause? It pauses everything. So and activity is no longer visible to you. Then on stop is called, and on destroy is just basically called to free the memory from your CPU. So this is how activity lifecycle works. Fragment lifecycle is also similar to what activity lifecycle is, but the only difference that comes here is after on create, on start, and on resume of activity, what happens is fragment lifecycle also is created, then started, then after starting it connects to the activity that that it is a part of, and then it resumes. So this is how a fragment and activity lifecycle is uh, working for you. Then there are intents and navigation. So what intents and navigation is, so right now I explained to you that what do you do is you do some operations on activity A and you click on some button and you go to activity B. Let's say there is a login page. You fill your initials, your credentials basically, and you click on login button. So what it does, it loads for some seconds and then switches you to another activity. So what is being called, what is happening inside of uh, the code at that moment? So what it does, it calls an API and it checks basically कि जो हमने credentials डाला था वो सही है या नहीं, and when it verifies that the credentials that we put in is right, it changes you it or it navigates you to another activity. So for this navigating part, intents are used. So what we can do here is you can use put extra function with the intents for passing. So let's say we might have let's take the example of login once again. So in case of login, what we did was you put your credentials and you called an API for getting the data and check verifying that this is a correct user. And after the user is verified, what you must have received some data from your backend. So what happens at that point of time is, let's say you have to pass that data to the next activity as well. Mostly, in most cases, after login, home activity is present. So you need to pass that data to the home activity so that it shows the UI of that particular screen. So for that, we use put extra with the while passing the activity. And navigating between fragments is much more simpler than this. It just so you can imagine fragments as so let's say there are four fragments uh, on that particular activity. So what will happen if I need a new fragment to be loaded on that, but on a previous fragment, we're not going to use intents for that. We just there is a function and we use that function to just switch that fragment uh, to the current fragment. So all the other all the other four fragments are already created in the in the back in the backend, and it just switches it to the current fragment that you are going to use. So intents are of multiple types. One is implicit intents, and then the other is explicit intent. So explicit intent is used for navigating between activities, as I told you right now. Implicit intent is used for requesting actions from other apps. For example, you might have seen that in Android apps, for example, in WhatsApp, if you click on a web link, a friend has sent you a web link, you click on that web link, it goes to Chrome browser and it opens Chrome browser, right? So how does that happen? So in this case, implicit intent is used. So what it does is, it when any intent is called, what it does is, from activity A, Android system, the basic system we have for Android is called, and then it decides if it is an implicit intent or explicit intent, and or if it is an implicit intent, then what kind of app is being called. So what you do here is you provide uh, the package of the app that you are going to open. In case of Chrome, some basic exercises like phone and Chrome and all others, the package is already defined inside, so you don't have to initiate the package for that particular those basic kind of apps if you want to navigate to those apps. But if you want to navigate to a specific app, then you will have to define the package of that particular app, and yeah, and you can switch to that particular app. Next is handling user input. So obviously, if any OS is present, so you'll need if any app is created, so you won't just need to show data. You'll need to get inputs from users as well. So Android provides us with various kinds of uh, input formats. So one would be edit text, one would be button is just for uh, operating in between. So basically, every button is assigned a particular function that it does. When you click on that particular button, a certain set of lines of code is written, and then it operates between that and does the activity that you need for you. Then there are toast and snack bars. Toast and snack bars are the messages that you see when so let's say you have logged in. So when you get you might be getting a uh, transparent, what can it be called, transparent pop-up kind of thing, which 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 vanishes itself in 1 or 2 seconds. That is called toast. Then snack bars are something similar to toast. It is also used for showing messages. Dialogues are for let's say you want to are you sure you want to log out, or those kind of pop-ups are called dialogues. There are forms and errors as well. You can handle errors as well in this. So if error handling would how would error handling look like? Let's say you have you have to create a new password, and for that password you have to uh, have numbers and alphabets inside it. And if you have not entered numbers and alphabets, when you click on login or register button, then it shows you an error that this is not the right format of password or whatever. So that would cover up the user input part. Then let's talk about RecyclerView. We all have seen Amazon or Flipkart or any other app that shows lists, everything in the list format. So how does that particular screen gets rendered? So what it does is it so there are two ways of creating it. One would be for any novice person. It would look like we'll create every single component of that particular list. Every single item of that list is created. The first item is this, second item is this, third item is this, fourth item is this, fifth item is this. Or what Android does, or what is what standard practice is, we create one view. So one view holder is created. So basically one UI you created. Ki, this is how my normal all the elements that we have is going to look like. So here the title would come, here the price would come, here uh, is it on sale or is it discounted, or some more details if you want some more description. when was this particular item posted, or expiry date of some items, or any particular n number of data items that you want to show could be shown, and you basically shown that this is how my one view would look like. And what you did was you render it continuously as many times as you require it. So let's say there are 10 items, you render that particular view with the data set that you have 10 times, so that you have uh, all the list items in your UI. So previously, we used to use list view, that which was another way of displaying large lists. So what is the difference? But main difference between list view and recycler view, why Android provided recycler view, is that in case of list view, all the elements. So let's say there are 100 elements. Obviously, you won't be able to see 100 elements at once in your uh, view, right? So what list view did was it created all the 100 elements, and when you are scrolling, uh, all the views are previously created, and you can view all those uh, lists, all the elements of this list. But the problem here was that if it is a very large list, let's say if Android can obviously handle 100 elements in a list, but let's say if you have 1,000 or 10,000 uh, elements in that particular list, 10,000, uh, let's say if you're taking the example of Amazon, so there are 10,000 items listed. So it would be very hard for very hard for the compiler to just show just load 10,000 elements in just seconds. It might even take 10-20 seconds, and that would be very problematic for every user, obviously, कि एक screen load होने में 10-15 सेकंड लग रहा है, तो that would be very problematic. So what Android came up with was RecyclerView. So what RecyclerView does is, let's say you have created a element, one element, how one element would look like. So basically the view holder, and from the view holder size, it calculates how many view holders can it show in one go. So what it does is it shows just that many number of view holders to you, and when you scroll down, it dumps the view holder that is not in view right now and recreates a new view holder that you require for viewing currently. So did this, instead of loading 10,000, you just have to worry about those 6-7 list elements uh, that are being shown on the UI currently. So that was a much more efficient way of displaying data. And so I'm going to show you, I have created one project for which uses RecyclerView and which uses API call to manage just after this presentation. And I'll show you how everything works. So let's talk about data storage. So everything, obviously, every OS requires data storage. So Android also has provided you how to store data for your apps as well. So one is obviously cloud storage. Cloud storage is nothing but you store your data on Firebase, Firestore, or any Google Drive APIs or any other platform, and you get that data from there. Then there are external storage that you see that mostly is used for storing files or images from your in your external memory. So what I mean by external memory here is SD card. One is SD card, and the other is the 128 GB or ROM or whatever you see from for that. So that external storage is not specific to your app, but it can be accessed from anywhere. Then there are the main three storages that we are actually going to talk about, which are which might be new for you. So one is SQLite database. SQLite database is just a basic database that uh, just a basic SQL database that can be used to store data inside an app. So these three things that you are seeing is strictly restricted to apps, the app that you are building. These three is that the storage database on the top, shared preferences, SQLite database, and Room database. Room database is nothing but a database layer over SQLite, so that uh, you don't have to write queries for getting data or updating data. So what Room database does is it provides an ORM-like setup. So you can just call a particular uh, function to do some data. So let's say you have to get something from your DB, SQL DB. What you are going to do is there is a function for it, find one or find function is there, and you give the ID of that particular data, and it will retrieve that for you. If you want to retrieve the whole table, then there is one for that as well. You put the table name, find table, and you put the table name for that. So that is how Room database works. Then there is shared preferences. Shared preferences is mostly used for storing key value kind of data sets. So what shared preferences does is it stores everything in format of a dictionary. Dictionary is nothing but a key value data type. So what it does is it converts. So let's say we are logging in. Let's take the example of, let's go back to our login example. And when you logged in, so what happens is for security purposes, what we do is so that not anyone can see your data. What we do is when we call an API from using the credentials that you have, that an user has provided us. So what it does in backend, in the backend part of the code, is it verifies, it obviously verifies that if the credentials you provided is correct, and after verifying, it provides a JWT token for it, which is sometimes 128 bits, sometimes some people keep it 132 bits. So basically 128 character, separate character token is provided, and which is at random, which is completely randomly created. And what it does, it provides a security layer for your app. So the login page would obviously give you the just the token, and this token is what we use in our later APIs or later screens to get data, get more secure security required data, you can say. So how, so every time you can't be asked to every time, if you've used mostly Android apps, right? So you must be saying you can't be asked to log in every time. That would be very annoying, right? कि मैंने तो एक बार log in कर लिया, तो why is it not keeping my data safe for myself when I come back and open the app, right? So what it does is shared preferences. This is where shared preferences comes into point. So the token that you get from the login API is stored, can be stored in your shared preferences. Okay, so what you would do is you would create a key named token, and you would save the value of the token that you have received from the API in your shared preferences. And then what will happen is when you come and use your click on the app again, what it would do is it would just go to the shared preferences that you have for that particular app. It would search for the key named token, and it would provide you the token for you so that you can use your apps in a better way. So you can call the inner APIs and everything, and do some operations inside the app using the other APIs. So that is shared preferences for you. This is all the data storages that we are using in Android. Then there is networking. Networking is basically what we, so I'm going to just tell you how REST APIs work. So REST APIs are just a web service. So what you can think of API An API is it when let's say a backend is created, okay, and let's say you have to use a particular set of data from your database that is stored in your server, and you have to use it in various particular instances. So let's say you have to use it in your website, in your Android app, in your iOS app, and some, let's say, some other website. So what APIs help us in is provides a layer between the database that we have stored, that we have where the data is stored, and it provides us the data that we require for us. So basically, what RoomDB did for you internally is what APIs do for uh, for us in getting data from your server to your front end. So obviously, it is customizable. You can send any number of data, any kind of data from your mobile, your front end to your back end, and save it in DB, or you can just fetch some data from your DB to front end. So you'll obviously, everything is right now, every app has some data stored, and uh, it loads data. So how, so let's take that example, login example again. When you log in and you log out your application, what happens? You log out your application, and you uninstall that application, everything goes away. And then when you install the application again and you log in with the same credentials, your data is saved there. So how is that uh, achieved? So that is where REST APIs come into point. And obviously, if REST APIs are created, then we'll need a way to consume those APIs, right, in our Android. So what happens is we use retrofit. Retrofit is a library. We use retrofit. Mostly retrofit is used. There is one other library named Wally, uh, but mostly retrofit is used because of its scalable and reusable nature. So what retrofit does is it helps you in calling those APIs, fetching that data, or sending that data uh, to the backend. Let's come to debugging after I've shown you a basic app for this. So this is the app that we created, and you can see it has switched to Android now. It's just showing the relevant part of the code that you need for your application. So let's just switch to the application that I have created for you, and I'll show you by running it as well. So uh, let's see. So I've told you that this is where Java or Kotlin files are created. This is where the mostly the UI part of it is present. So I've told you what is drawable, what is layout. Layout basically contains XML type of nature. So let's just minimize this for now. What I want to show you is XML. The real XML looks like this. It has various kinds of layouts. So there are mostly three kinds of layout that is used: linear layout, constraint layout, and relative layout for your application. So what linear layout does is, so you can see that there is an orientation vertical present here, right? So what it would do for you is, whatever you write inside this linear layout, it would linearly put in your UI. So what you can see is, if I click on this text view, so okay, what is text view? Text view is nothing but a way to show data, so show text on your UI. So what we can do is, if I click on text view, you can see this is on top here. You click on the next text view that is defined below it. So if you click on next text view, it would just show you the text view just below it. So what it does is, it puts your UI linearly. So if I try and if I change it to horizontal, so see what happens then. So this is one, and since I have put the layout width to match parent, what happened here is, when I put it to horizontal, the first text view is going you're going to see here, and the next text view would get hidden. So you can see this dot here, right? So it has hidden from here to here because I put the width as match parent. So if I put here, so what width can be. So let's come to a text view. Let's put this as vertical only because we need to see what goes on here. So text view, I told you that it is used to show data. What ID is, it just creates an ID so that you can access uh, this particular title or this particular element in your Kotlin file, which is present here, or I think that was a post file, so it would be present here. So yeah, you can see tv.title. So R basically R is the collection of all the IDs or all the layouts, all the UI components that are present. You can access it from here. That is imported here, and then r.id.tv title will give you the where was it? That element that you need to define. And then there is then there is layout width. It's nothing but defining the width of that particular element. So there are three things that you need to know while defining the width and height of any element. Apart from that, if you want to specify that this element should be, let's say, of some particular size, then you can do that as well. So let's say if you want it for 20 pixel size to 20 pixel size or 40 pixel size. There is another concept of DP in putting sizes of a text view. So let's say if I want to put this size as 50, so can you see all the types of examples that it is showing me? So px is pixel, pt is points, mm is millimeters, in is inches, and dp are and sp. Dp and sp is kind of a relative term. So what it does, it renders your UI. So if you put 50 dp here, it would show you different kind of lengths in different kind of mobiles. Why it would happen? Because it adjusts to the pixel ratio of that particular screen or of that particular mobile, and it shows you data according to that. So let's say if uh, uh, it basically operates as a percentage kind of stuff, you can understand. Like, so let's say, and apart from that, there are three other things. So one is match parent. So okay, match constraint is not here. Okay, so one is match parent. Match parent does nothing, but it matches the width of its parent. So what is the parent here? Linear layout. Linear layout, the width is match parent again. So match parent. So uh, if the highest level of parent has match parent, then it would automatically uh, understand that we have to occupy all the space that is required in that is present in the UI. Okay, so if you put layout width as match parent, then it would cover the whole width of that uh, particular row. So let's say if I and what wrap content means is whatever the content is inside that particular uh, element. So let's say this is a parent. So it has two text views. So its size width would compile the height of this text view, then the height of this text view, and plus the padding that is provided here. So 8 dp padding is provided. Padding, if in general padding is provided, that means padding left, padding right, padding bottom, and padding top all are 8 dps. So if you want to specify it, I just want padding left as 8 dp, so you can do that as well. So if you click padding left, so you might be seeing that there is a gap here, and but that gap is not present in on the right side. So what we can do is we can provide padding horizontal as well. So it would do is it would provide gaps on the left and right side both, but not on the vertical side. But if we did padding, just padding, it would provide padding on all sides of this. So one more thing that I would like to show you here is this is how you can write XML files when you are experienced. You can you kind of will understand you and you kind of will know which tag means what. Okay, but at the start of your Android development coding, you won't be able to know what tag means. Every time you'll have to Google key what kind of element I need to use, what kind of tag I need to use. So who Android Studio simplifies it for you. So what you can do is you can choose design here, and what you can see now is a various numbers of elements present. So common means all the common views that are mostly used, that Android Studio thinks is mostly used. Then you can click on text. You can see these are the number of types of text uh, views that you can create. Then this is button. One could be button, then it could be image button. So image button is nothing but there has an image in between that. Then and it could be a chip group, it could be a checkbox, it could be a radio group, radio button. So this is all. And what you can do, the best thing that I see for about Android is what you can do is you can just click and drag it here, and it would come up to you. Okay, I think I used a image button or something. That's why it is asking me for drawables. Let me use a simpler version. If I drag and put button here, so see, it has put a button for me here, and now every element that would be created with this would have buttons. Okay, so this is more or less uh, about XML. I think a lot of time has passed. I'll just quickly go through the recycler view part of it. Okay, so what you do when you are showing a list kind of surface, what you create, you put recycler view in the main activity, and you create the UI that I showed you, item post as here, in another activity, and you create this. After that, you quickly go to the activity. So here is where the code will start running from. So what we do is see on create function is called now. So what happened? What I told you about the activity lifecycle. This is implemented here. So after all the activity is created, you're setting the content view as activity main. So this is being called, and after that you're defining your recycler view, and you put layout manager as this. And okay, so there are various architecture patterns that we can use for Android development. One of them is MVVM, one of them is MVC, MVP, and there are many others. You can explore it on your own. The best one is MVVM, and because it is more scalable, and uh, it basically helps you in rendering. It helps you better in rendering those pages. So what I can do right now is I'm not going to show you view models because of the crux of time, but I'm going to show you how the APIs are called. So this is an API service. So this is the endpoint of that particular API, and this function is used for calling the API. And what it does is it returns a list of all posts, and this is just a placeholder kind of thing from where the data is being fetched. So if I quickly run this app, or you can run your app from here, and you can choose obviously what kind of device. See, we created a simulator, right? Pixel Excel. So you can run it on that as well. So if you click on that, so this is how your activity would look like. So, but I added button at the last. So it is adding the button as well. So this is my title, which is coming in bold. Then this is my descriptive body. Which is coming in not so bold, and there is a button here. This is how I created recycler view. So this is how you can create a list like kind of function for you, list kind of app for yourself. You obviously create. So how does this data come from? So this data comes from the API that we are calling, and so it obviously must have some structure, right? Ki, this is how my data should look like, and so that I could render it in the views. So that happens here. Uh, so this is the model file. So you can see title and body here, which we are using to show the title and body. How is it being shown? So adapter is called in main activity. You might see I'm calling this adapter. Yeah, RecyclerView.adapter is equal to post adapter, and I'm sending these posts which I have received from here, from this function. So a view model is called a view model. What it basically does is the API service that I showed you is being called from view model. If I can show you. Yeah, so this is the fetch post function. The fetch post function would then call repository, and then ultimately it would come here and it would call the service folder. That it will get the data for you, and it will store the data and the view in the view model class. And whenever this UI screen is being rendered, the main activity would use this use the data that is stored in view model and show it to you on the screen. And yeah, uh, how does all these view holders are being shown and rendered? So that is where post adapter class comes. It is doing nothing but uh, running a, you can understand it like it runs a loop, and it renders the screen for all the for the size of whatever the size of the post list comes, and it renders the screen for that. And yeah, you can view the list that is seen here. At last, we can conclude it with debugging. So what you must be seeing at below is the debugging panel. You can use log.e. You can set loggers here. So how to set loggers? I think I have used somewhere. Yeah, so this is how you use logger. So there are different kinds of logger. I use log e. E means error, and it throws the exception. If there was some exception in calling the post API, get post API, it would have thrown the error to me, and I would have been able to see it here. And I can choose if I want. If I just want to see errors, see is error package, is error and package.com. So I can choose from filters. I can choose what kind of logs I want to see, and that would be displayed here correctly. And this is how you can debug the code. And the best practice to write a clean code would be to name your uh, variables according to what the exact function is, what that function or what that variable is doing. And if you would want to reduce memory leaks, what are memory leaks is, so basically what you did was you defined a variable and you didn't destroy that variable, and that after you have used that activity, that variable is still stored in the memory, sitting and doing nothing. That is called memory leak. So you would need to make sure to destroy all those variables and stuff. So yeah, I think that would be it from my side. And if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Ankit. There are a couple of questions on YouTube. This was being streamed live on YouTube as well. So one of the questions that we have is, what are some common mistakes first-time Android developers make, and how can we avoid them?
Uh, Common mistakes that Android developers make is common mistakes. Uh, what I can think on top of my head when I started developing was not not really designing everything mentally in front of myself before coding, and just getting into the code and doing everything, and and then getting stuck into some problem which I have not seen at the start. And then I used to, understand that this was not the approach that I needed to take. And instead I and then I would realize that there was some other approach that needed to be taken. So read the docs, read developers.android.com very carefully. I think that is the best guide that you can use for uh, development. Don't use any other source, because there are many other sources that would um, kind of deviate you from the exact thing that is being currently used. So there are some times that you would get some previous version answer for the problem that you're facing, but developers.android.com guide has the current answer and how you can debug everything and how you can fix your problem. So I would say that.
Great, thank you. One question that we have is, what are the system requirements and best practices for running Android Studio smoothly without any lag?
Uh, can you repeat the question?
What are the system requirements and best
Uh,
practices?
System requirements, I would say, because you would need to run Android simulators as well. Then, so I would say I think SSD type of hardware is a must right now. And apart from that, I think 8 GB of RAM is sufficient if you want to use. If you don't want to use Android simulators, but if you want to use Android simulators, then 12 GB of RAM would be sufficient, I think, for running uh, vast. I think I would say um, a large application as well, which consumes RAM.
Thank you so much for answering that. I can see a few more questions. What are some of the key settings or configurations to check when setting up Android Studio for a smooth development experience?
I think most of the things that you would need for developing Android apps is very efficiently managed by Android Studio. So if you are installing Android Studio, it would do most of the work for you. But as I said before, if you face any kind of problems, uh, don't go anywhere looking for those answers. Just follow the steps that is provided in developers.android.com, and I think that would be sufficient for you. And if I would say this again, because if you are facing any problem and you are trying to use the developers.android.com guide and you're still facing some problems, then uh, read it again and again, because I've seen it multiple times. I was basically, if I'm stuck in an issue, I've seen it multiple times that what happens is uh, I'm not able to correctly understand what the guide is saying, and I'm trying to implement something else. And if I would have read it completely, then it would have helped me much better.
Great. There are a couple of questions here as well on chat. XML is for backend purpose and what is for front end? That's a question.
No, XML is not for backend purpose. XML is a UI XML is what renders UI for you. So backend is the Java part or the Kotlin file that you are saying. So that is where the actual backend code is written. So what you would write on XML would directly be shown to the user on their apps. But let's say if we are putting, I put a function, I put a button in there, right? So the function part of that would be written in Java or Kotlin file. So that would be the backend, not the front end.
Okay. I'm developing with Kotlin and Compose, and I'm unable to find resources like incoming call detection. And why to use Kotlin and Compose instead of Flutter?
I would say Flutter. Flutter is not that mature right now. That is why I would say Kotlin and Compose would be better for your last answer. And unable to find resources like incoming call detection. I have not really worked with incoming call detection, I think, but I would say there must be something you can find in the guide or something, but I don't have experience with incoming call detection, so I can't really answer that question. For the second question, obviously Flutter has libraries, and obviously it is easy to use, much easier to use. But if you are building something very vast, then obviously uh, you won't get libraries, or you won't get, there are some payment gateways that have not integrated Flutter for themselves. So I think payment gateways in current world is a big thing, and if you have not integrated Flutter for that, then I think you would obviously face some problems in many third-party libraries.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that. We have one more question from YouTube. What are some quick ways to improve an Android app's performance for lower end devices?
Make the code run very simple, follow the architecture pattern. I think MVVM is the best uh, in helping you to make an scalable application. I think so. That would be my answer.
Um, There's a question that says, what about using Jetpack Compose?
I think Jetpack Compose is much better. You'll obviously have to familiarize yourself with using Jetpack Compose at the start. But I think if you are using it, saves a lot of time. You don't have to create XML and the Java file separately. You can just use it as we are used to using it in React or any other places.
Great. That is all. Those are the questions that I see on YouTube, and I think here also we have covered most of it. So Abhishek is asking if there are any resources that you can probably provide for them to refer to.
I was just talking about developers.android.com, but if you're asking for something which is completely related to the issue you're facing with incoming call detection, then I'll have to look for it. Obviously, that would, I'm not sure if because incoming call detection, you'll have to look for this inside developers.android.com as well. You'll have to see where that guide takes you, and you'll have to check if it has appropriate thing or not. I think it would have, but if you are not getting it, then you might be you might have to use some third party library.
Great. That is all that we have for today. Thank you so much for taking up the time and taking this session for everyone. And thank you so much for everybody watching for being here. Thank you. Have a good night and
Thank you.
thank you.